and welcome to the TBV Show. Hopefully everybody is doing a-okay. We are here for the third batch and the third week. So yeah, bless up to everybody. I hope everybody is doing good. Today's guest, you will know as Charlie. He's a Tottenham fan. He's got a channel, so make sure to check it out. It's all of the links, all of his links will be in the description. But yeah, without further ado, big up to everybody. Hopefully you're enjoying the pods, and let's go. Yo, bro, how are you, man?
All good, Liam. Yeah, happy to be on. I've been a watcher of sort of some of the episodes so far of the pod, and look, some very interesting things. I learned a lot about certain creators that I didn't really know too much about before. So yeah, I guess it was nice to kind of watch. And look, Liam obviously sent me the invite, so yeah, here I am for my turn. So yeah, big up to Liam every time. Thanks for having me on, and this should be interesting. It's a bit different, obviously, from the usual kind of discussing football and purely football. This is, for me, probably the first time I've kind of done a stream like this before. So yeah, no, looking forward to it.
Nah, fully. And that's like the main thing, you know, for me, like with the people that I've got on and so on. And obviously this is about you, so we won't talk too much about the other creators, but and they're there for people to watch. But like that's the point, right? Because you obviously are a Spurs fan. We'll get into that in a little bit of how you become a Spurs fan and so on. But like in general, you talk about Tottenham or you talk about another team, you know. Josh, for instance, talks about Arsenal. You can see I'm wearing a Bayern shirt, you know what I mean? So it's just match reactions, previews, this, which is good, and that's what we are known for. But it's good to actually get your story out there and, you know, for other people to actually, you know, learn a bit more about you, because they might actually then relate to you, you know what I mean? You know, like with Josh, for instance, you know, losing his dad, you know what I mean? Like that was powerful, you know, in that aspect. But anyway, shout out to him 100%. But let's get into this because this is about you. So we'll get into the Spurs thing because that's what people will know you for. But what was like childhood and that like for you?
Childhood, it's an interesting question. I mean, childhood was good in the sense that I'm lucky enough to have a supportive family. I live with both my parents still, so yeah, having both of them around is great. I have a sister as well who's obviously good. So yeah, no, I've got a good family around me, obviously other relatives as well. Very supportive, you know, very much in my life as well. So yeah, overall, most of my family, pretty much all of it are, in my life. Very happy to be around them. Very good people that have supported me throughout my childhood and even to this day, of course, as well. And yeah, childhood, it was interesting. So in that sense, from my home life, being at home it was great in the childhood. Kind of obviously growing up in England, in London, it's, look, I'm sure there's a lot of people that can relate to me, kind of, you know, what it's like growing up in London, kind of going to school and stuff. Look, if I'm honest, without going, you know, too sort of personal, school was a very difficult time for me. I moved schools, secondary school. During secondary school, I moved in year 9. So yeah, it was very hard for me. I didn't have the best experience. Primary school was okay. Primary school was totally kind of normal as you'd expect it to be. But yeah, secondary school was tough. It was difficult. And I guess I might as well say it now. I haven't said this publicly ever before, but I'm somebody that's on the spectrum. And I have ADHD as well. So I have these things that obviously in a social environment make it more difficult for me. I know there's some other creators in the Spurs world that I've seen that, you know, have been sort of more open about it than I have. The likes of Harry Scarf, who I've seen, he does a lot of stuff. You know, he's openly talking about it. So this is kind of my first time really. So yeah, sort of being on the spectrum, you know, it's great. You know, I wouldn't have it any other way. I like being unique. I like kind of being different from a lot of people, but at the same time, you know, it comes with its challenges. And especially in my childhood, it was a lot harder to deal with those challenges than it is now. So yeah, going to school, it was tough. I went through some difficult times, but obviously you learn a lot. You know, you learn a lot when you go through those things. And yeah, obviously I wouldn't change it. I have no regrets whatsoever. But yeah, childhood was good in a lot of ways, but of course, you know, some challenges for sure.
No, fully, bro. And like obviously share whatever you want to share. But like that's powerful, you know what I mean? I really do think that is, because like at the end of the day, that's what makes you you. You know what I mean? Like,
Of course.
and if people relate to you or this or that, like that's the thing, bro. Like, I'm fully with that. You know what I mean? Like, that's why when I started this pod and I started about me, because I wanted it to start with me and then obviously get onto other creators like we are right now. But like, I'm open to talking about my depression and my anxiety, and being on pills for it and all of this, and I'm dyslexic and everything. So no, I don't relate to you, but I do relate to you, if you know what I mean. So
Yeah.
say moving school wise, was that because of like bullying?
You could say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to go. I don't want to.
No,
I can talk to you. I can talk to you more backstage and stuff if you want. But yeah, publicly, I don't really want to go. Yeah, I don't want to go too much into it. But yeah, let's just say I had some troubles with
some problems.
It was difficult. It was just difficult for me in school. Not even just with other people. Just kind of, I'm not the most academic person, so it was hard for me to kind of concentrate, focus, like do homework on time, all of that. It was very hard for me, so it wasn't just one or two things. It was multiple things.
Yeah. No, yeah. I hear it. And I think a lot of the American and around the world, not just Americans, I'm not trying to single them out, but I don't think they understand, like, not trying to make people feel sorry for us being from the UK, but the UK is a pain in the ass to go to school. Like,
yeah, 100%.
Like,
if basically.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I spoke to React, I spoke to Josh about it, and we were giggling and all of this. But like, at the same time, there are some right scumbags in this world, unfortunately. And especially in the UK, proper dickheads. But
look, UK schools there's a whole meme about it. I think that tells you everything. If you go on TikTok, there's all these like POV UK school this blah blah blah. Like, if you know, basically.
Yeah, no, fully.
Yeah.
So like, childhood wise for you, were you like one of these children that like straight away was into football?
I wouldn't say immediately. I think it took me. I mean, I'm not one of those people where when I was born, I was wearing like a mini Spurs shirt or anything. I was kind of like, it took me a while to kind of get into football. Like, kind of when I was really little, I have no kind of, I didn't understand football. I couldn't understand it at that point. I sort of really got into football when, kind of when I was in primary school, kind of maybe midway through primary school, when I kind of could have a basic understanding of it. And obviously, I'm sure we'll get into it, but I was always going to be a Spurs fan. That was never something that wouldn't happen. And yeah, I think probably my earliest memories, you could say, of football itself was kind of, in terms of playing, I used to play for the school team, which, it's not a lot, but I used to play for the school team, and a bit later on, I used to play five-a-side a little bit. So I've had some sort of experience playing football when I was younger, but also, yeah, just kind of watching it. Earliest experience, if you're talking from the Spurs point of view, probably that Harry Redknapp team, kind of with Modric, with Bale, Van der Vaart. That's probably the earliest memory. And I know for a fact the first shirt I had was from the 09-10 season. You guys can go and look that one up. It's the one, one of the Redknapp seasons. So yeah, that's kind of my earliest memories. So not straight away, but from a relatively young age, I gradually kind of understood it more, and obviously became more passionate the more I understood, essentially.
And I think that's another thing, going back into what we were talking about just a second ago, with school and so on, like, across the world, let's just talk about the US again, for instance. You've got football, their football, which we all know as American football. You've got basketball. You've got all of this. Mainly, the sport in England is football.
It's only football, really, if we're honest.
Yeah, like there's cricket and there's this and that, but it's mainly football.
Yeah.
So no, I'm with you fully. So were you where did you play when you played at school level?
I played a couple of positions. I mean, it's hard to say because school football is like.
Yeah,
it's
of course,
not.
Of course.
I guess I was more, if I can put it down to any positions, probably mostly a midfielder / centre back. You could say that was kind of my. Okay. Even when I played five-a-side, I was sort of midfielder / centre back. If you were to put it down to a position, essentially.
So you were a defensive player, basically.
I was a defensive player. Yes, that's correct. That's kind of more. That was more of my thing.
Yeah, no, that was me as well, bro. You know, I didn't play for the school, but like when we would play in school, I was a centre back. Because no one, you know, people. I'll say it straight up. I don't care. Most of the people in my year were pussies. In the aspect that they wouldn't go in for a challenge. You know, not necessarily.
I'll tell you, it was the opposite in five-a-side. In five-a-side, it was the opposite. They went in.
Yeah, but that's exactly what I mean. Like, not themselves, but when you talk about football, they're like, "Nah, I'm not being a centre back because I know that the strikers are just going to go straight at me." And I'm like,
everyone wanted to score. That's the problem. Everyone wanted to score. I was not obviously I wanted to score, but I was more, I guess, happier to do other roles than what other people were. Maybe. Yeah. I guess that's how you could say it.
Because like my thing was like technical on the ball. Yeah, it wasn't a thing, bro. It wasn't a thing.
Yeah,
I was crap still to this day. But I had speed and I had power. You know what I mean? And I'm built. So, you know, in that aspect, I was the centre back. But we mentioned it, and obviously people will know you as a Spurs fan. But so how did you? I'm guessing it's family, but how did you get into Tottenham?
Yeah, so essentially, I mean, first of all, not my entire family aren't Spurs fans, of course, which I'm sure we'll get into. Half my family are from Sicily, so there's no Spurs on that side, which we'll get into. But the Spurs side comes from my mum's side of my family. My granddad is a massive Spurs fan. He's been going for God knows how long. He remembers well our golden era, which was in the 60s, double winning team, multiple cups. You know, he remembers it really well. You know, he was sort of my age when that was happening. So he's, you know, a lifelong Spurs fan. He's been going for many years. And look, I was always going to be a Spurs fan. I have my uncle on that side as well. Obviously, my mum, I mean, she's more into it now than what she used to be. She's definitely getting into it. But, you know, she's not really a watcher of football or Spurs. But you guess you could call her like maybe a casual fan, sort of. You know, that sort of, like, she has an eye on it. But yeah, essentially my mum's side, Spurs fans, and that was always going to be my team. And yeah, early memories from Spurs. Like I said, I actually have a season ticket. My granddad wanted me to have one because he's had one for years. So essentially, I was put on the waiting list from a very young age, and luckily, I got a ticket basically around when the new stadium opened. So it was kind of with that kind of. I'd been to games before, but like I didn't have a season. Yeah, I didn't have a season ticket until the stadium opened. First game was, I remember it well. It was in the 2011-10, I think, that season at White Hart Lane. FA Cup match, 3-0 win against Coventry. I remember Bale scored in that game. Yeah, what a day. You know, I'll never forget it. Obviously, that was prime Bale. Back then, you know, it was amazing. I think Modric, Defoe might have all played as well in that game. So it was, one of our better teams of the sort of like very recent era, you could say. And yeah, look, growing up, it was, you know, getting into Spurs, it was great, you know, kind of going to games, kind of getting more and more into it. Obviously, the more I got into it, the more frustrated I got at times. But I just remember when I was a kid, you know, it was more pure because when I didn't fully understand it, I understood it a bit, but I didn't fully understand it. I was always excited, you know, to buy the shirt and kind of like wear it and everything. Like, it was more sort of that, but yeah, essentially that was when it was pure. That was when I hadn't been corrupted essentially with Spurs and what kind of we've gone through. So yeah, that's kind of the story with Spurs. Came through family, from half of my family, my mum's side, and yeah, you know, I didn't look back. So yeah, obviously, like I said, for my granddad, for kind of him to kind of get me the season ticket, it's fantastic and everything. And yeah, you know, really nice story there. Yeah.
Because that's the thing, isn't it? Like, this is going to sound so like wrong because I'm a Bayern fan, but it's not necessarily always about winning. You know what I mean? When you talk about the football terms of it, obviously the main thing is to win trophies, obviously.
Of course.
But like going to the stadium for you, for instance, you know, like that would have been like, that's a hobby in that aspect, you know, and especially with you saying about your granddad, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to speak for you, so I'm going to pose this as a question. But like, I'm guessing you looked up to your granddad, you know what I mean? Because for me, I know I looked up to my granddad, you know what I mean? So like, when you know your granddad's a thing, you're gonna follow those footsteps. That just is what it is, you know what I mean? So was it
Of course, look, I was desperate to go to a game for so long. Like, obviously, back at White Hart Lane, it was harder to get tickets. You know, stadium was only about 32,000, very small. Obviously, I didn't have a season ticket, so it was even harder to get me a ticket. So from a young age, I'd always wanted to go to a game, you know, because obviously I could see it on TV. You know, I wanted to kind of be there. I wanted to kind of see it in person in a way, because obviously when you see it in person, it's a slightly different experience. So, but you're right though. Look, obviously what we want as fans to kind of, you know, as objectives for the team is obviously to win trophies and everything. But of course, there's multiple memories if you're going to the games. You know, that there's times that you're never going to forget. You know, obviously, I know it was a trophy, but being there in Bilbao was something else. Kind of at the stadium, I talk about games. You know, I was there for that North London derby, 3-0 under Conte when we got top 4 ahead of them. Obviously, I was there for the Chelsea game as well when Son kind of ran through their whole team, albeit that was at Wembley. So before I had a season ticket, but I was lucky to go to that game, and multiple others, just kind of when I go to watch Spurs at the stadium. You know, I know a lot of the guys there, you know, get on really well with the regular people I see in my block and everything. And look, when we win, it's obviously great. You know, it's just the day itself is obviously a good feeling. It's a good kind of experience. And you know, every time I go, I enjoy it as much as I can, basically.
No, I'm with you. What was it like going there the first time though? Like
for the first game or at the stadium, the new stadium?
Let's go your first game first, then we'll move on to that. Like, what was that like for you?
It was great, man. Like, you know, like I said, obviously the game was great. You know, it was obviously a great result for us. Like I said, I'd wanted to go to a game for a while before that. So, you know, the time that it finally came was fantastic. You know, obviously from the vague memory I have of it, you know, proper game. You know, for anyone that's been to White Hart Lane, it's a proper old school stadium. You know, I think outside of Goodison, might have been the oldest stadium in the Premier League before it got knocked down. If you went to White Hart Lane, it's the proper, people say English football. It's the proper English football experience, and I'll never forget it. I'll never forget the first game. Kind of being in the crowd. You know, I couldn't really see much because I was obviously quite small when I was young, but honestly, just kind of feeling it, just being in it it's completely different to watching it on TV. So just I'll never forget it. Basically, the first time's always, you know, the most memorable time that you could say. So
no, I'm with you fully. And I think like, what was like the atmosphere like? Because I can talk about going to your new stadium, which we'll talk about in a sec. But like, what was that atmosphere like?
Oh, White Hart Lane was incredible. White Hart Lane was one of, because of the way the stadium was, very small, very close to the pitch, kind of very compact. It was always better. It was always going to be one of the better atmospheres, because like you see it now. I know Goodison's recently been knocked down, but Goodison Park was like that kind of last season, and before that, you've seen other grounds sort of similar, you could say, as well. Kind of not even just in England, but across Europe and stuff. When the ground's kind of smaller, when it's kind of compact and tight, you know, it's incredible. And White Hart Lane was one of the best atmospheres in the Premier League. You know, when we were doing well, when you know, the fans were on it, it was something else. And obviously I was very lucky to have experienced it a few times. So yeah, incredible experience going there.
No, I hear you. What was your opinion on the new stadium?
That's an interesting question. I mean, here's the thing. White Hart Lane was basically falling apart, so we needed a new stadium for sure. My opinion on it at the time was kind of like different to what it has been recently, because at the time I kind of felt like, look, we need a new stadium. Like, we need a stadium to kind of compete with the kind of the other big clubs in the league and everything. We need the stadium so we can get more revenue, get more money, so we can, you know, buy better players, essentially. That's kind of how I felt at the time when kind of the plans were announced, kind of that we were, kind of they started building the stadium and everything. But kind of my opinion later on, obviously, you know, my thoughts on kind of the ownership and the board at Tottenham. Like, essentially it was a lot of kind of, false promises from Levy, who thankfully is gone now. But at the time, he, said that, look, the stadium's a game changer, and that, every single penny goes back into the team, and that we want to go to the next level as a club. Those are all the things that we were told. And also that, that us building the stadium, it won't affect the transfer budget and everything. All of those things did not materialize. And look, it's not the stadium itself. The stadium is beautiful. The new stadium is incredible. But what is the point in having it if you're not going to have a team that goes with it, essentially? And that's always how I felt pretty much since we've been in the new stadium. A lot of those years we've underperformed. We've kind of got worse. And I've just kind of felt like, look, I would rather still be at White Hart Lane with that team we had when we left, essentially. Kind of, if we were doing better and winning trophies, I'd rather be at White Hart Lane if that's what it meant. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts in recent years about the new stadium has been like, what is the point if we're, kind of not having the team to match it? Such a fantastic stadium, you need the furniture. And obviously we haven't had that. So yeah, my opinion's kind of changed a little bit about the new stadium, but we'll see now. Obviously, look, it's a bit different now. So we'll see if we can finally get the benefits of the game changer that Levy told us it was. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts. But yeah, whichever way you look at it, incredible stadium. Like it is fantastic.
Yeah, like what was it like going there the first time?
Going there the first time, I'll be really honest. This might sound strange, but it felt like an airport. It didn't really feel like a football stadium, if that makes sense. It felt like an airport. Kind of when you walk down the concourse, it feels like you're in duty free and everything. It did feel like that. It didn't really register with me until I kind of stepped out for the first time into the stands and everything, when I realized that, yeah, this is in fact a stadium. But look, incredible, man. Genuinely, like, for me, probably the best stadium in the Premier League, definitely, I would say, in terms of infrastructure and kind of the modernization and everything. Yeah, obviously the atmosphere, it's a little bit inconsistent in the sense that a lot of the smaller games, I don't think it's very good. Kind of when we're playing, like, let's say, I don't know, like a Burnley at home or something, it's not good. It's very flat. But when we're playing like a North London derby, or we're playing like Chelsea or something, then it can get really good. But it's not, the problem is it's not consistent enough. So we'll see. I think that the club should have done more to kind of help, because what they've done is they've built this south stand that you've seen, this big south stand, kind of like the Dortmund one single tier stand and everything. They told us that that was going to be like the wall of noise, essentially, when, it was, we were told about it. But what they've done is they've gone and put a big chunk of hospitality seats in the middle of it. And I'm like, that just kind of defeats the whole object. And I think that's why we struggle sometimes to create a good atmosphere, especially, like I said, especially in those smaller games, if you want to call them that. So yeah, I think that a few things have to change. I think in recent years it's got better. I think you've seen now the tifos they're doing ahead of, Bodo Glimt last year, and even this year against Villarreal. We started doing that. There's a group called THFC Flags. They kind of organize all of that as much as they can. So hopefully it keeps improving. But yeah, I think still atmosphere-wise, a lot of work to do. But in terms of just infrastructure, yeah, incredible. And when I went for the first time, yeah, it's nothing like I'd ever seen before in a stadium.
No, fully. And obviously that's coming from a Spurs fan. You know what I mean? That's obviously why I would ask you that as well, because I've been to that stadium. I've been there twice. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Like, there is no cool. You could say Spurs are shit. You can laugh at them. This, whatever. You know what fans are like. But at the same time, I've been to a lot of stadiums in the UK. That is the best.
Yeah, it's number one, easily.
I'm not saying it even because you're on here either. You know what people are like that. Oh yeah, he's saying it because he's on here. No, generally, I've been to Old Trafford. It's beautiful, but it is falling down. I've been to Etihad, again, brilliant stadium, but it's not like that's. I do understand when you said the airport thing, I kind of giggled because I do understand.
Yeah.
I do understand what you're saying with it fully. But I remember going up the escalators, and then obviously because we went on a tour. We go through the padded seat area and all of that, and I'm like, whoa! Like you just look out and it's like, holy shit!
Yeah, that part I've never been. I've never been in the posh part, if you want to call it that.
Have you never been in that bit?
I've never been in that part. No.
Okay. Yeah, it's.
I can imagine though. I can
Yeah,
imagine.
no, it's nice. It's nice.
If the regular parts like soup and crazy, then think of what the posh parts like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, no, the stadium's absolutely beautiful. And then obviously I went there for a game, and I didn't know that you were going to do the trumpet thing. You know that like that's your thing. I didn't know that. So
that's new, by the way. That was never a thing at White Hart Lane. The trumpet.
Oh, it wasn't.
Thing. That's something that's
okay.
No, that's new. The trumpet thing's new. So yeah, like I said, sometimes I mean, there's been a couple of games where I've been to where the sound's not on the speaker and it's just awkward. Like you can just see the guy at the top playing the trumpet and there's like no sound, and then eventually the speaker comes on when they're basically finishing.
I pressed the wrong button. My bad. Let's continue. No, I'm with you fully. And it was a bit like I didn't know what was going on. You know what I mean? Like, and to be fair, you know, the atmosphere wasn't terrible when I went. Obviously, I was in with the Bayern fans, so I didn't really care what the Spurs fans were saying.
That was a friendly, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it wasn't like a Champions League night, for instance, like it would be. But like, how many North London derbies have you been to?
North London derby. So unfortunately, 2 of them since the new stadium were during COVID, during lockdown, behind closed doors. So nobody was there, which would have been great because we won both of them. And one of them was, remember that Sun curler, like that absolute screamer. That with fans, that would have been crazy, right? I was at the 3-0, incredible, probably the best game I've been to at the new stadium. That 3-0. Under Conte was something else. You know, the atmosphere, that was one where the atmosphere was incredible. We absolutely battered them. It should have been about 5 or 6-0 that game. Genuinely, it was literally like stuff of dreams, essentially. Unfortunately, we haven't had, thanks to Ange, I think a lot of it, we haven't done well in the North London derby. Obviously, I would say last year when they beat us 1-0 was probably the worst North London derby of all time. I thought both teams were shit. I didn't think either team did anything, and obviously they got it from a set piece. And then there was the 3-2 under Ange, that was an embarrassment. So the less said about that, the better. But yeah, North London derbies, like, unfortunately, a couple of them were during COVID. But yeah, that, like I said, that 3-0 was, that I'll never forget that one.
No, I'm with you. Like, is it? And you'll be able to tell me this because obviously you are a Spurs fan. But like, is it actually? How do I say it? Not hyped up because, you know, people could be, you know, horrible in that aspect because it's, you know, they're rivals. But like, is it really the way it's pictured? Like, you know, like with like all of the stewards and the police and so on? Because like, if people don't know and have never been to the stadium, the walk from the station to the ground is long. You know what I mean? Yeah. You have to go street after street after street, and then you get like you can see the stadium in the background, but like you have to get to it in that aspect. So like, and it's not like with the Munich one, for instance, you get off at the thing, you go up a couple stairs, you go round a corner and then up. Like this is like a normal street. You know what I mean? There's shops, there's restaurants.
It's in Tottenham. Tottenham's not the best area, and it's just this massive spaceship just in the middle of it.
Yeah. So like, do you have to go on like a certain part of the road? Is it like how do the Arsenal fans get there?
So from what I usually with the North London derby, I get there super early just in case, you know, just in case. Yeah. I make sure I get there super early. But what I've heard is that apparently, Arsenal fans are separated. They have to come in, you know, they come in at the same entrance as away fans usually do. But essentially what happens is the home, because usually if it's just if it's the team we're playing, like no rivalry or anything, usually the away entrance, there's a home entrance right next to it, and the home fans just go in like normally. Like there's like a gate, there's like a fence separating it, but they just go in normally. When it's Arsenal or Chelsea or West Ham, even there's no home fans on that side of the ground. They completely close it off to home fans for the East Stand. You know, you have to go in at a different entrance, and they just create this big space, I think, so they can kind of separate the kind of away fans from the home fans.
Yeah. No. Okay. I'm with you. Because like obviously from social media and that you can see certain things, but someone that's actually lived it, you know what I mean? Like I can go in, you know, I don't know, something random. Like say I've been in a like I've been to New York or whatever, because you can see it through other people's eyes on, especially with social media these days. You know what I mean? You've got Google Maps and all of this shit. But it's like to actually go there, you know what I mean? Like, so when I'm talking about the Spurs Stadium, for instance, I've actually been there. You know what I mean? So people could say, oh, that's a shit. Oh, it looks like a toilet bowl, this, whatever. But like, I've actually been there and I think it's beautiful. You know what I mean? So no, I'm with you fully. And I can't, you'll be able to tell me, but there's a certain area at the Spurs Stadium where you can look over and see where the team buses are.
Yes, I've never been personally, but I've heard about it. Yeah.
Yeah. So when I went to the Bayern game, me and the missus stayed. I don't know, was it maybe like an hour, maybe an hour and a half after the game finished, because we could see the Bayern team bus. Then all of the stewards got us out of the way, which was fair enough. Then you walk around the corner and you can actually see there was loads of police officers, obviously. And then I've actually got like videos and so on of like the players walking out, getting on the team bus and stuff, which to me is cool. You know what I mean? Because obviously German team, you know, being in England, so on and so forth. But no, the stadium's beautiful. Let's talk about your legends though, which people will laugh and say you ain't got them, but you have.
Listen, every club has their own legends, whether they're as good as others. Or, every club has their legends. It's just
like what was Gareth Bale like for you?
See, I would say Gareth. I think we have much bigger legends than Gareth Bale. I would say. I think a lot of the guys from the '60s, you know, incredible. Bill Nicholson, our most successful manager, you know, from the golden era and stuff. I think Son is a club legend. I know he's recently left, but for me, he's one of our biggest legends. Obviously, you got Kane. You know, I'm a bit more 50-50 on that, whether he's a legend or not, but he is our all-time top goal scorer. So, yeah, I can't argue too much against it. But, yeah, with Bale, look, I don't really see Bale as a legend. I think that he was, you could call him a cult hero. Obviously, he was incredible for us, but I don't think he was there long enough. Like, he didn't stay with us to kind of be considered a legend. I mean, he did technically win a trophy. It was in his first year. He didn't really play, but he was part of the Carling Cup team that won in 2008. He was part of the squad. Like, he was there on the day. So, yeah, look, Spurs... Look, every club has their own legends, Spurs included. We have a lot of legends that I could list. I could go on for a long time that fans and everybody considers legends. Obviously, you got Ledley King as well, one club man, stuck with us for, his whole career, essentially. For me, he's one where if it wasn't for injuries, he would have been one of the greatest centre-backs of all time. He was incredible. Like, you should have seen what Henri said about him. Henri said that Ledley King was the toughest player he ever came up against. So I think that tells you a lot. There's many players I could go on about, but I'm one that, look, even though it was before my time and everything, I'm a bit of a history buff, you could say. I like to kind of talk about the history of Tottenham, because it kind of started within a way that I just kind of got sick of people saying, oh, empty cabinet, no trophies, cobwebs. And I was just trying to correct people and say that, look, Spurs have won many trophies. Yes, not as many in the last 20 years. It's been the driest period for us, but Spurs have gone through very successful periods. It might not be as successful as the super clubs like Bayern, for example, Madrid. Look, it's nowhere near that, but we have gone through periods where we've had a lot of success. And essentially, for example, being the biggest European club in North London, I think says a lot, to be honest. There you go. In terms of European trophies, there's a lot of history there, more than, certain other clubs in North London. So I'll leave it at that.
Shots fired. No. No, fully. But like for you personally, you know what I mean? And don't get it twisted. I ain't trying to, take the piss or anything, but like watching, I'm guessing you've watched Gareth Bale because you said that he was playing. Like, what was he like to watch?
Bale was incredible. Like, it's just what you see. Like, everything you hear and like see about Gareth Bale, it's what it is. He was incredible. And if you saw him live, you're very lucky. And luckily I was one of those people. So just incredible, hard to kind of put it into too many words, really.
What about like Luka Modric? Was he as good as he was there? Because like I got into football late, right? So I knew and I know of him playing in the Premier League, but I know him as a Real Madrid player.
Yeah, of course.
So what was he like for Spurs? Was he as good as he was for Madrid?
obviously Madrid. Look, I'm not going to beat around the bush. He's Madrid's legend. We can try and claim Modric a bit, but he's not our legend. He's obviously a Madrid legend. Yeah. Modric was incredible at Spurs. Obviously at Madrid, he became, Ballon d'Or winner, all of this, 6 Champions Leagues, all of that. But at Spurs, he was an incredible player. It's essentially, this is why Madrid bought him. Madrid don't just buy any player. And Modric was somebody they went and got off us, and just incredible. Modric, he was very small. A lot of people said that he wouldn't make it in the Prem because of his, not being physical enough, but he made it look easy. He would just glide around these players, and just one of the best players in recent history for Spurs. Yeah, it's what you see with Modric. Everyone knows how good he is, and that's at Spurs. That's where he kind of broke out essentially.
Yeah. And then obviously you've had, like you've mentioned, Ledley King, one of the greatest English centre-backs we've seen. Obviously, they won't talk about it because of Rio Ferdinand, John Terry, blah, 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 blah. But you've got to give credit where credit is due, in that sense. And then, to be fair, you had Gary Lineker as well. You know what I mean?
We did. Lineker, we had Gaza, we had all of these guys. We had Ozzy, who's like an ambassador for the club now. Ozzy was an incredible player for those that know. Many others, from different eras. We had Jimmy Greaves, one of the greatest English players of all time. Yes, I'm going back a long way, but it still happened. It's part of history. But I know people always say, "Oh, it doesn't matter because it happened in the a long, long time ago." But we can't just kind of dismiss it. And like I said, there's multiple players from that era that are some, like, if you look at the England World Cup squad 66, a lot of those guys were Spurs players. People don't realize this. A lot of them were. And that was, like I said, during the 60s, which was our greatest ever era. World Cup winning England team. Spurs had a big say on that.
No, fully. I'm with you fully. And you've even had Robbie Keane.
Berbatov.
It's actually kind of crazy, right? And don't take this as a disrespect, but the stigma around Spurs is that they're shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They shouldn't be in the Big Six, all of this shit, right? Which I hate the Big Six as a whole.
I don't believe in the Big Six either. I think it's a load of shit.
Actually deepen it. I'm just looking. I've got this thing up looking at your legends right now. The amount of strikers you actually had is actually peak.
We've always had good strikers, Liam.
Yeah,
that's been one thing about Spurs, and that's why I'm so kind of frustrated at our current strikers right now, is because throughout most of history, Spurs have always had good strikers.
Yeah,
and we've usually had 2 or 3 of them at the same time. So we are a team that we produce good strikers for whatever reason.
It's crazy. Again, I'm not going to know it in no particular order, but you had Klinsmann, you've had Kane,
that's another
you've
one.
had Lineker, Jimmy Greaves, you've had Gascoigne, you've had Robbie Keane, you've had Berbatov, you've had Defoe. Was Glenn Hoddle a striker?
Glenn Hoddle, he was more of an attacking midfielder, but Glenn Hoddle was another one of our legends.
Crazy.
I could name as well. Yeah.
But Heung-min Sonny, you all know him as. Now, don't get it twisted. He's like, if you take away Bayern, he is one of those players that I loved. And I think he's just amazing. I think you have to like him because he's a likable character. You know what I mean? And, again, we don't necessarily need to fully mention it, but, to be able to do what he's done, being where he is from, is an amazing thing in itself. You don't really get too many players coming from Korea, or Korea Republic as it's known. Obviously, there's a stigma on the other one, which we're not going to get into. But as a whole, he is just amazing. And I remember him from Bayer Leverkusen. You know what I mean? He was a baller for Bayer Leverkusen, and he is one of those players I wish we had, but we would never get him from Leverkusen at that time because we had Ribery. You know what I mean? We had Robin. You know what I mean? It's kind of like one of those things. It's like, what if, if Ribery never, it sounds dumb because he's an icon, but if Ribery was never there, I think Son could have done amazing things for us. I really do.
100%.
And obviously there's that stigma around Bayern that we obviously buy the best talent and blah, blah, blah. So bringing him in would have been amazing. You know what I mean? But him coming to Spurs, what does Sonny mean to you?
Son means everything. For me, my favorite player, I'm not one of these guys that says Kane all the time. Yeah. Son was always number one for me. Mm-hmm. I love Son. Now he's a club legend. It's not even a question about it. He, was captain, winning that Europa League in May. Finally got the trophy he deserved. It was a long time coming. If I'm honest, Son deserved to win so much more than just the Europa League, but he got the Europa League at the end of the day, and he deserved, if he had won nothing, it would have been so painful, man, if he had ended up leaving Spurs without winning anything. So for me, nobody deserved to win that trophy more than he did. One of the greatest players I've ever seen. Look, Son was my kind of growing up supporting Spurs. Yeah. He was, when he came and everything, he kind of developed into the player that he obviously became. And watching him live, when you talk about watching players live, watching Son live was something else. That was, when he was on it, the pace, he kind of just glided. What he did, what I was there for the Puskas goal that he scored against Burnley. Yeah. That is something else. Watching this guy live is incredible. And obviously, Son, like you said, the story of kind of, he's really opened the door for a lot of Asian players. You see there's a lot more of them now in the Premier League. You got Hwang at Wolves, you had Minamino, you've got Endo, multiple Kamada at Palace. There's multiple names I could go over. And that path was opened by Son, kind of as an inspiration. And you're seeing more and more, Korea's getting better as a national team. Japan, they've got so many good players, Japan. So what Son's done on and off the pitch is incredible. He's an incredible human being as well. Doesn't have, I don't have anything bad to say about him. He is essentially, the perfect guy. You could call it that, the perfect human, which is obviously very hard to kind of come across. Yeah, Son means everything to me, genuinely. Like the legend growing up for me, a true icon. And yeah, it's surreal. Obviously I'm still sad that he left. I think you're seeing him at LA now. I know it's in MLS, but he's scoring. I still felt he had a year or so left in him. I would have personally kept him, but obviously it was nice that he, his last official game for the club was actually in Bilbao. I know he played in friendly after that, but his last official game was in Bilbao. So in that sense, the perfect ending. But yeah, Son means, if you ask me, who my favorite, if you ask me who my favorite player is at Spurs, kind of, of all time, having in my time watching the club, Son is number one for me, 100%. Because with Kane, look, obviously I love Kane, of course, but I'll be honest, right? I understand why he did it. Kane left us. Son stuck by us. Kane left because he wanted to win trophies. Son stuck by us. And I'm a big guy on loyalty. So for me, Son all the way. Son, means just everything to me as a fan.
No, I hear it. And I understand, I feel like as well, I understand fully what you've just said about Kane. And, I feel like someone that's been at your club, Daniel Levy, good or bad, obviously for Spurs fans, bad. But
very bad.
For instance, I think Kane would have stayed with you if he wouldn't have been there. I really do. Because I do think, Kane is a loyal person. Obviously, I understand where Spurs fans would come from in the fact that he did leave. He's come to Bayern Munich. He was pushing to go to Man City that time as well. But as a whole, I think he is that guy. You know what I mean? Even now, and you might not see this right now because obviously you're a Spurs fan and he's left and so on. But you're not an idiot. There's one thing to say. You're not an idiot. You know what I mean? He is about to sign a new deal with us. He wants to stay with us because he's won a trophy with us. He loves it in Munich and so on and so forth. Like he did with you guys, for instance. You know what I mean? Okay, cool. He didn't win the trophy in that aspect, but the amount of contracts he signed where he could have pushed out, sooner.
He did. He did. He signed a 6-year contract. His last contract at Spurs was a 6-year contract. And here's the thing with Kane, I still massively respect Kane, and I still will always remember Kane. But I'll tell you something. I'm so glad if he was to move. Obviously I wanted him to stay, but if he was 100% going to move, I'm so glad he's gone to Bayern Munich, because if he went to another Premier League club, snake for me. Not for me. Yeah. He is done for me, because that's just the thing I've always held, that for me, if you're one of our players, if you are one of our best players, you know, if you're the guy for us, if you go and join a rival, another Premier League club, forget it, man. Genuinely. Like, that's just my take on it. That for example, like with Kyle Walker, one of my favorite players growing up as well. Obviously, you know, I feel obviously like I've kind of, you know, the dust has settled and everything now, but he went to Man City. And I know Man City's not really a rival for us. So I don't really hate Man City or anything, but it's another English club.
English team,
and that's always been a thing for me. I don't like seeing if our players want to leave, like kind of our best players that we don't want to lose, if they want to leave, I don't want to see them go to English clubs personally.
No, I hear it. What do you think of? I'm not going to say the main one. Get into that in a second. But what do you think of like Berbatov, for instance?
See, Berbatov, I was a bit young to remember that. That's the thing. What was this? 2009 or something when this happened? Look, I was a bit young. Look, wasn't good, you know, going to Man United, especially with Levy not replacing him either as well. Yeah, Berbatov, look, it's not good. Obviously, look, now, you know, because he went to Man United, he didn't go to like, you know, Arsenal, Chelsea or anything. So it's kind of a bit better, but yeah, it's still an English club. And I can't really consider like Berbatov a legend or anything for that reason, if I'm honest. But yeah, great player though. Incredible player, Berbatov.
Like the main one obviously is Sol Campbell though, isn't it? Like, not even to try and rub it in or anything like that. But like, man.
See, that one was before my time, but it doesn't mean that I'm not, you know, salty about it. Because at the end of the day, right, with Sol Campbell, a lot of people don't realise that he didn't just go from Tottenham to Arsenal. It's the way it happened. For about 2 or 3 years, I think it was, he was telling the club, I'm going to sign a new deal. I'm going to stay. I love Tottenham. I'm your captain. I'm through your academy. I love it. He kept saying this. He kept saying, I'm going to sign. I'm going to sign. Ran down his contract. And by the way, a year before he ran down his contract, because he still hadn't signed, apparently we were willing to sell. We had accepted a bid from Man United. Campbell turned it down. Saw out the final year, left on a free, went to Arsenal. I'm sorry. People always try and justify it by saying, oh, he wanted to win trophies. Yes, I understand that was the Arsenal golden era. I understand that was Arsenal's golden era. And Spurs weren't in that sort of position at the time. I fully get that. But here's the thing. You don't have to join Arsenal to win trophies. He could have gone to Man United and won more trophies. We're talking about Alex Ferguson here. He could have won more trophies. He could have gone anywhere. You know, if he wanted to win trophies, he could have gone anywhere. You know, it's not about that. He is, no question of a doubt, the biggest traitor in football history.
I agree.
It's as simple as that. And nobody can say anything to justify it without lying, essentially.
Yeah. No. And that's the thing. That Arsenal fans will be Arsenal fans. That just is what it is. But like, as a whole, like, yeah, that is, you know, Man United would have been the place to go. You know, like,
yeah.
Look at the players that, like Berbatov, for instance. You know what I mean? He went and won all of the trophies he won, for instance. You know what I mean?
And do you know what's so funny as well? Sol Campbell doesn't have a single European title to his name. You know, I don't know if the guys watching, did you know that? That's a fun fact for you. Sol Campbell has 0 European titles to his name.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy as well. It's like how good he actually was. You know what I mean? Like, why would you go to Arsenal of all teams? It
wasn't just our player. He was one of our own. He was an academy boy. He came through the ranks.
Crazy.
Honestly, nothing like it. Nothing like that has ever happened.
Yeah, and that's crazy. What do you think of Daniel Levy?
Well, he's gone now, hasn't he? He's no longer
of Daniel Levy.
Daniel Levy. I mean, that's been for years at Spurs. That has been a big topic. I've attended protests. I've wanted him gone since 2018, when we became the first club ever to not sign a single player in that summer. That's when the tables turned for me. That's when I decided this guy shouldn't be running our club. Opinion on Daniel Levy. Like I said, since then, I wanted him out. I thought that was unacceptable, what happened that summer. Here's what it is. When he took over, Spurs were not in a great place financially. We had almost kind of gone bankrupt and everything. He came in with ENIC and essentially put the club in a strong financial position. The club gradually improved Like we were sort of, when we got back into Europe after a few years under him, quite early on, we gradually got better and better, kind of going up the table with different managers. And he got us, him being there kind of got us to a certain level. Like he took us up from a certain point, and he put us, like I said, in a financially strong position. He obviously delivered the stadium. He delivered the training ground. Phenomenal. It's what we need as a club to go to the next level. We needed a new training ground. We needed that new stadium. But what he hasn't done is really where it gets to me, because there have been multiple occasions where all we needed to do was sign that one or two just quality players, kind of elite players that come in and can take you to that next level. And we never did it. I think back to Redknapp. We were so close to winning the Premier League. That January, we go and sign like nobody, essentially. Like Saha, Nelson, these kind of players, when I think Redknapp wanted like Tevez or something back then. You saw that was a missed opportunity. Go to that Poch team. Yes, I have my opinions on Poch now about kind of, how good of a manager he is. But at the time, Spurs was so close to winning the Premier League. That Leicester season, we should have won the Premier League. We were the best team in every single aspect that season. Same with the season after, finishing second and everything to Chelsea. But we didn't bring in those players that we needed to push us over the line.
Yeah.
Essentially, what happened is with Levy is he's very risk adverse. So obviously, investing a lot of money in one or two players is a risk. And he didn't want to, it was a risk that he wasn't willing to take because he had this plan in mind about the new stadium. The new stadium was going to become his cash cow. It's going to get to a point where he's not even going to need Champions League money to kind of, essentially, make all this money, have the cash flowing in and everything.
Yeah.
So essentially the story of Daniel Levy is made us strong financially, but has had no intention to use that for the footballing side. The thing with Levy is, for those who don't know, he's a real estate guy. From what I gather, from what I've seen, he's clearly very passionate about real estate. That is clearly what he loves to do. He's not a football person. And when it comes to the football side of the club, there was zero ambition. And not only was there zero ambition, but when we did have a sporting director, manager, scouts, whoever it is, he would always interfere. Why? Because not only is Levy unambitious, but he is a control freak. He would always want to get into everyone's way. We had Paul Mitchell, who was a fantastic sporting director for us. Essentially say, look, because he was a Spurs fan, essentially say, look, my dream job has been ruined because of Daniel Levy. Because Levy, the way he operates is he wants to control everything. The final say would always go with him. And when you have somebody there that's not a football person and isn't ambitious, then that's obviously a recipe for disaster. So essentially, Daniel, look, he oversaw a 17-year trophy drought. That is the longest trophy drought in the history of our club. Spurs have never gone that long without winning a trophy, for those that didn't know. So that tells you everything you need to know. His time at the club ended after 25 years with 2 trophies. 2 trophies in 25 years. That's nowhere near acceptable. For a club like Tottenham, for some of the players we've had, for some of the managers we've had, we should have done so much more, but we didn't, because Daniel Levy's ego was above everything else. And that is essentially the opinion on Daniel Levy. Like I said, financially put the club in a good position, but never was willing to take the next step to make us into the club that us fans dream of and what we believe we can be.
Yeah, no. And I like from the aspect of like the stadium wise, being able to have Beyonce there, to be able to have Taylor Swift there, the boxing aspect, the NFL aspect, I get it. You know what I mean? A Spurs fan ain't going to want to hear that. I fully understand that, So from that aspect that your stadium can do that, like the Eubank versus Conor Benn fight is going to be at Tottenham. You know what I mean? Like, that's amazing. But you're a football stadium. You know what I mean?
Exactly. We're a football club.
For shit. Yeah, exactly. Like,
and that's the thing. The thing for me, Liam, is that I don't mind us having American football, boxing. I don't mind any of that. I don't actually have a problem with that at all. My problem I've had is that was first. Yeah. That was above football. Levy put that up. If we are a football club, that's the thing. And I think under Levy, he essentially forgot we're actually Tottenham Hotspur Football Club and not Tottenham Hotspur Entertainment Corporation.
Yeah. No, I fully get it. Like,
Yeah.
and that's the thing. Like, and that's not even trying to stick up for him, by the way, either. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
I can't stand him either. Obviously, you hate him way more than me. But like with that whole Kane saga, you know what I mean? Like, Kane was about to get on the freaking jet, and they stopped it because he wanted more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, I fully get it. But like, and this ain't even to take the piss. I've got a full article here. I'm not going to read the full thing, but I'm going to mention the names that you missed out on that you could have signed. You know what I mean?
There's loads.
You've got obviously Jack Grealish is one of the biggest ones. You've got David Raya, Jules Koundé, Kim Min Jae, Skriniar, Kostic. You've got Bruno Fernandes, Yao Martino, Eden Hazard, which is crazy. You've got Rivalio back in 2002, which is crazy. Cavaskillia, Sergio Aguero. Like, the team you could have had, as well as the players that you then bought. You know what I mean? Like, mad. Absolutely.
To mention a couple of others as well, you missed some big ones. Dybala, that was one. Dybala. There was many. There was Mane. That was another one. Mane when he was at Southampton.
Yep.
Just recently, there was Doué when he was at Rennes. As the list goes on. The list goes on and on. And some of the ones you mentioned were very close to joining us as well.
Yeah, and it's like the crazy thing as well, and this is no disrespect to any player that's played for Tottenham, but like some of the players you have signed and some of the players you have in your team are shit. Like, with all due respect, they are.
Well, you buy them. You buy them. You buy and take them off us like Dyer.
You had to get that in there, didn't you? We've gone 56 minutes. 56 minutes, and this guy hits me with a fucking punch, bruv, from Mike Tyson. No, I get you. To be fair, I actually put Dyer as like a I don't know I don't think he's a legend. He's not an icon, but like he's one of those players that he actually did really good for us. I was fuming. The videos are there on the bottom view. I was fuming.
I heard he wasn't too bad for you guys.
No, he was actually really good. Solid centre back.
Because for us, Liam, for us, it was a different story. For us, yeah.
Like, and that's the thing. Like, even with him, you know what I mean? And like, obviously, you know, Portugal. You know, he was obviously in a Liga Portugal. You know what I mean? You know, so I think he's doing good now for Monaco. Sorry. He's doing good for Monaco now as well. So like, he's a good player, but he just wasn't fit for the Premier League.
Well, under Poch in his early days, he was good when he was playing midfield. He was actually doing because he used to be a midfielder. He was actually I mean, he wasn't as good as Moussa Dembele or Wanyama back, but he was solid. It was a solid midfielder. But when he moved to centre back, that's where it went bad.
I'm so glad you mentioned those names. Moussa Dembele. So many players, you know, in interviews or when they're like do the top 5 or whatever, talking how good he was. In your opinion, as a Spurs fan, how good was he?
He was incredible. Moussa Dembele is one of the most underrated players of all time. You couldn't get the ball off this guy. This guy was the complete midfielder. Dribbling, you know, muscle, just everything you want in kind of like a box-to-box midfielder. He was next level, man. It was just such a shame he kind of had injury problems, like really bad injury problems towards the end. Because, Moussa Dembele is one of the... When you're talking about best players I've seen live, Moussa Dembele is easily one of the best players I've ever seen. Incredible player. And look, everything you've heard about him is 100% correct. He was a beast. He was different, genuinely.
Nah, fully. It's crazy as well. Like, just to talk about that Belgium team for a couple of seconds. How many players?
Toby, Jan, Dembele, all of them.
Yeah. Like, and that's the thing as well. Like, Alderweireld was sick.
Yeah.
Jan Vertonghen was amazing. You know what I mean? And these are the days where you're crap. You know what I mean? Like, mad.
Well, we weren't bad. Well, when we had Toby and Jan, that was one of our best teams. That was our one in the Premier League. You know, when we finished in second with Poch, that was an incredible team. But again, like I said with Levy, he didn't back us, and that's why it kind of fell apart.
Nah, fully.
But I agree. We have had some some shit teams, but that was not one of them. That was a very good team. That Tottenham team.
No, fully. You mentioned a name that you could have signed though, and it's actually a segue. So Paulo Dybala. Now I know you personally, obviously, and you know I watch you as well, and I know you do a certain show with 10, and it's not a Spurs show. It's you as a Palermo fan,
Yep.
and obviously Palermo is a team from Sicily, and I know that you have a Sicily background, an Italian background. If anybody doesn't know what Sicily is, tell me about your background before we get into Palermo.
Yeah, of course. Look, first of all, I'm super proud of having this background. You know, being half Italian or Sicilian, I love to say, is incredible to me. You know, Sicily is, whenever I go there, I feel at home. I love the place. For those that haven't been, I recommend you go anywhere in Sicily. You know, you'll absolutely love it. Yeah, essentially, you know, my dad is from Sicily. His side of the family are from Sicily. Yeah, it's an incredible place, man. You know, kind of having this connection to Sicily, it's fantastic. Obviously Palermo, the city, more specifically, is where my family come from that side. So yeah, no, look, it's great. You know, I know obviously you've spoken to Josh, you know, from has a Napoli background and everything. You know, it's very similar. Obviously there's differences, but kind of the south, for me, in my opinion, the south of Italy is the best part of Italy. You know, everyone talks about Milan, kind of Torino, Rome, all of the best. The real Italy's the south. I can tell you that for sure. That's where it's at, man.
No, I'm with it. So I'm guessing it's going to be a dumb question, but I feel like I have to ask it. I'm guessing you've been there.
To Sicily?
Yes.
Many times. I'm there every year, basically.
What's that like for you? Because obviously someone being, you know, actually from there, like I can go to, like, I've been to Greece, I've been to Munich, I've been freaking France, you know what I mean? Anyone can go on a freaking holiday, but to actually go back where, you know, your roots are from, what's that like?
Like I said, I feel at home there. You know, obviously I've lived in England my whole life. I was born in England, but
Yeah.
when I go to Sicily, man, it's different. You know, it's very different from just going to, you know, another different country. It genuinely, I feel at home there. You know, obviously I have lots of family there. You know, the weather is much better there. Like obviously I'm sick and tired of the UK weather, so it's always nice to go to Sicily. Yeah, it's warm most of the year. The food is incredible. You know, Sicily for me has the best food in the world. I know that's very biased, but it has the best food in Italy and also the world for me. It is incredible, the food there. There's lots of things. What's interesting about Sicily is there's a lot of things in Sicily, whether it's food or just culture, that's exclusively from Sicily. Like you'll see things in Sicily that you won't see anywhere else in Italy. You know, there's food, there's culture that is, you know, we have our own language there as well. Like Sicily is obviously it's very Italian. It's extremely Italian, but you know, we have a lot of specifically, Sicilian things that are, you know, we're very proud of there. That's for sure.
No, I'm with you. It says here about the cuisine. They're famous for their street food.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, a lot of fish. You know, we have the fish market, arancina. That's something as well, which is basically like a rice ball. You got panella. I recommend if you ever go to Sicily, try that because that is one of my favorite things. You've got, the list goes on. Essentially, all the desserts, gelato, everything. You know, everything in Sicily.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. Yeah, I love Google. I can't lie. While I'm doing these pods, I love Google. Have you ever been to this place? I just put it in the private chat. I have no clue how to say it. That's why I've private chatted it to you.
Yes, I have been there. Taormina, yeah.
Taormina.
I believe I've been there. I think it was when I was younger, but yeah, I'm pretty sure I have been there. Yeah, it's not. I haven't been there for a while, not recently, but I'm pretty sure I've been there. Yeah.
For anybody that doesn't know, it says here it's a town known for its luxury, beautiful views. So yeah, and even on Google right now, it looks absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
But
I can name many places in Sicily. There's obviously Palermo. If you want to go to a proper city, you know, chaos, go to Palermo. But if you want to go outside the city, there's Cefalù, there's Marsala, there's even part of Nico as well. You've got Trapani, the ports there and everything. Many places, man. There's Saccia, That's one I struggle to pronounce actually. Sacha in the south. You've got even Catania, where the volcano is, and everything. Obviously, their football team's a load of shit, but you know, if you want to go to the city,
that caught me off guard. I wasn't ready to say that.
Yeah, if you want to go to Catania, don't go and watch their dead team, but go to. It's a lovely city, and Mount Etna's there, the biggest volcano I think in Europe.
European.
Yeah, I've been there.
Tallest and one of the most.
Volcano. I've been there. It's lovely there. It is lovely there. Syracuse, that's another place as well.
What do you mean you've been there? Oh wait. We're not going over that. What do you mean you've been there? You've been to the volcano?
I have, yeah.
Whoa.
Obviously not near. I've been to the volcano.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah. No. I've been to the volcano. Yeah, I've been to the volcano. Yeah.
Whoa. What's that like?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, there's only a certain level you can go to.
Yeah,
like,
of course.
I've been to the bottom. I have a volcano rock, like over there somewhere. Like Bro. It's yeah. I've been to the volcano, but obviously not anywhere near the dangerous part, essentially.
No, I hear it. But what's it like? Like for me, right? I can't lie. I've never really seen much. You know, like I've seen like mountains in the distance, but I've never been up a mountain or next to a mountain or a volcano. What the hell is it like being? Because like, obviously they wouldn't allow you to go there if it wasn't safe. But like at the same time, like that is still a volcano that could erupt. You know what I mean? Like, what's that like?
Of course, yeah. Well, if you're talking about mountains, Sicily is mountains. Sicily is all mountains. You know, Sicily's not a flat place. You know, when you land in Sicily, you know, I mean, Palermo is a city. It's surrounded by mountains. You know, if you watch a Palermo game, you'll see there's a mountain behind the stadium. You know, Sicily is it has loads of mountains. It's great. You know, I've been obviously at the top of the mountain before. Different mountains. Yeah, it's lovely, man. You know, obviously it's very different to like the UK and everything. The UK is just flat, but Sicily's not flat, and it's the mountains, obviously the volcano, like you mentioned. Yeah, it's lovely. You know, it's going to the top. You know, you can see everything essentially. Like it's when there's roads that kind of go up through the mountains. If you want to go through the countryside and everything, it's a beautiful place. It's stunning, Sicily. Yeah,
I'm actually looking at photos as you're speaking. Whoa.
Yes.
That's beautiful. Damn. You're making me want to go there now. Damn it. Palermo. Yeah. I know that this is your other team. You know, and you know, people be like, oh, they've got two teams. Yeah, well, it's grand that got him into Spurs, and then obviously your roots get you into Palermo. So if anyone's hating, shut up. But Palermo, man, tell me, what's it like being a Palermo fan? Obviously, you're second in Serie B right now. You haven't lost a game as we speak. 4 wins, 3 draws. What do you think, man? Tell me.
I mean, first of all, with Palermo, I guess kind of I'll start. You know, my whole family from Italy aren't actually Palermo fans. You know, I have a lot of Juve fans in my family from Sicily. My dad's a Palermo fan. But yeah, a lot of my family are Juve fans there. But you know, I'm not going down that glory hunting route. So I'm like,
screw you, Gio.
You gotta go. No, big up to Gio. But of course, I was always gonna choose Palermo. You know, picking Juve or Inter would have been the easy option for me. But yeah, Palermo was always fascinated me. I mean, being a Palermo fan, it's been a roller coaster to say the least. We have been through a lot, essentially, in recent years. We've gone bankrupt. We've been liquidated. We've gone all the way down to the bottom, Serie D, the 4th tier, because of financial problems and everything. We've come back up. We're now owned by the City Group, so the same owners as Man City. They own multiple different clubs. Obviously, Girona, you've got others as well, in other New York as well from MLS. So we're part of that sort of network. Yeah, Palermo, like I said, we've been back in Serie B this is our 4th year back in the 2nd tier. We are in a really good position right now. I've said with a lot of chess that this is the year we finally get promoted, because Palermo haven't been in Serie A for 10 years. You know, obviously, I guess we'll get into some of the history in a bit and in some of the players we've had, but It's been a while, essentially. The last season we had in Serie A was in 16-17, you know. For a couple of years now, there's been big expectations for us to get promoted. Last year, we massively flopped. Essentially, we had a clueless manager, Dionisi, who's, less said about him the better, because, you know, not only of his tactics, but he was also, you know, he also said some very questionable things. But we've got Pippo Inzaghi now. Obviously, everyone knows him for the striker he used to be, obviously one of the greatest Italian players of all time. But he's somebody that he knows how to get teams promoted as a manager. Got Pisa promoted last season. Pisa are now in Serie A. Palermo went and got him. We've obviously made some good signings. I believe our squad is the best in the league in Serie B. You know, we should be where we are right now in second. And I'm very optimistic. I think that kind of the start to the season we've had, overall extremely good defensively. I think with the players we have up front, we should be scoring more goals, but we've had games where we've had like 30 shots and their keepers just turned into like prime Buffon. So we've had, overall it's been a good start to the season. Like I said, a couple of things we can improve, but overall so far so good. We're in the automatic promotion spots, which is where I'm hoping and expecting us to be come the end of the season, knock on wood. But yeah, Palermo's been, you know, for me being a fan, it's been obviously a roller coaster. Like I said, I remember it when we got liquidated. It was, you know, it was very sad, essentially, because Palermo essentially, officially, obviously we're still the same name and the same colors and everything, but technically we're a different club, because technically, obviously we still claim all the history and everything, but technically the current Palermo that you see were founded in 2019, technically, even though that's not what we claim, because we are the same club, same stadium, but technically we're a different club entity. I don't know if you know what I'm trying to say. Like,
no, I know what you're saying.
Yeah,
obviously technically got liquidated and so on. Yeah,
so we had to come back. Obviously, we're under a different logo and everything as well. But yeah, you know, it's been a roller coaster. It was a shame because when we were in Serie D and Serie C, even I couldn't really watch any of the games because there was no way of me getting them in the UK. They were barely televised anyway. I mean, for those who don't know, in Italy, the fourth tier, Serie D, it's amateur. Like, it's not even professional. So obviously there was no way of me kind of watching it. But yeah, since we got back to Serie B, you know, where we did get liquidated from, we've missed out on promotion the last couple of years, albeit we haven't been as close as I feel like we should have been. It's been in the playoffs and everything. We've kind of folded. But this year I'm optimistic. I'm very optimistic with Inzaghi. With our team right now, it's a really good squad. It's a squad that should be in Serie A, if I'm really honest. We've got Poyampalo, we've got Segre, we've got Giassi. These are Serie A, Agello. These are Serie A players that people know from Serie A because they're proven in that league. So we should get promoted, and I'm really hoping we do because, I believe we will this year. But, we have to see.
No, fully. And, you know, for anyone that doesn't know, you know, obviously your main color is pink. I think you've got some of the best shirts I've seen.
By the way, the pink, before this plastic club Inter Miami came about, we were the only team in the world that had a pink home shirt. Obviously, teams have had away shirts that are pink, but we were the only team that had pink as our main color. Now Miami, who are, this club that's only relevant because of Messi, have come about. And even though Palermo has history and we've been around for many years, Miami are this club that was only formed a few years ago, and now everyone thinks they're huge. But people forget Palermo was the real pink.
And you know what people are like? Like, unless you're from Miami, people won't support them soon when Messi retires. It's just not.
When Messi's gone, Inter Miami will be irrelevant when Messi retires.
No, I agree fully. And no one cares about MLS anyway, bro. It's called fucking soccer over there. Come on now. With all due respect. But yeah, no, the kit's beautiful. The badge, I think your badge is sick as well, by the way.
Well, the new one.
Yeah. Well, do you like the old one better, in your opinion?
It's different because obviously the new one's been the one since obviously we came back because in 2019 and everything. Obviously the old one, look, I do like the new one. The new one for me is, that's a lovely badge, I have to admit. Obviously the old one has a lot of history and everything, and it's a great badge. But I do like the new one, I must admit.
Yeah, because if I'm right by saying the old one was kind of like a shield.
Yes, shield.
Yeah, and then it's like, was it like half pink, half black with a bird?
Half black with the eagle, yeah.
The eagle, there you go. Yeah. Yeah.
And now the new one's the eagle with the pink and black and everything.
Yeah. No, it's sick. Absolutely sick. And yeah, some of the players you played there, or have played there, sorry, you know, we're talking obviously the main one, Paulo Dybala. We're talking Belotti. People know who he is, the striker, the forward. Luca Toni. People, you know, that obviously are Bayern fans that are watching this, you'll know who Luca Toni is.
For Italy as well, 2006.
Yep. Fully. Edison Cavani. They had Bazzagli, the centre back that obviously people will know from Juventus. You know, Pastore as well. Illich.
Ilicic, yeah.
Ilicic, yeah, there you go. Yeah, man, like some proper ballers. But the main one, Paulo Dybala, obviously, because you know when you were, you know, coming up and up and up, he was there at that time. What do you like? It would have been crazy actually, if, you know, going off topic quickly. Would have been crazy if Spurs did sign him because you'd have had the link to both.
That's why, Liam, I wanted it so badly, man. Obviously, Dybala was a quality player.
Yeah, of course.
Would have been a marquee signing for Spurs. But for me personally, if he had come to Spurs, he would have probably been my favorite ever player because I don't think there's ever been a player that's played for both clubs. So
for both, yeah,
it would have been.
No, I hear it.
And a player as good as that as well. It would have been incredible. For me personally, having Dybala at Palermo and then at Tottenham would have been, yeah, man, it would have been amazing.
What's your opinion on Dybala though? Because obviously you said that most of your family from that side support Juventus. Like, what's your opinion on him? Because I did go there.
Yeah, he's an incredible player, man. Look, the reality of Palermo was that, look, we were, back in the day, we had, like, you listed them out, you know, some of the players we had were amazing. We got into Europe and everything. Very unlucky not to get in the Champions League. We just about missed out. But, yeah, we went into Europe. We beat West Ham, I remember, and well, not remember, but a bit before my time. Like we beat West Ham in 2006, 4-0 on aggregate. So for the guys that remember that, you know, remember that. But yeah, yeah, we were in Europe. We've had a couple of years in Europe and everything with these players that you mentioned. But yeah, with Dybala, look, the reality of Palermo was that we were a selling club. We were a club that when one of the big boys came in, we would often sell. Whether that happens now with the City group remains to be seen. We don't know how they're going to operate. Hopefully not. Hopefully, if we kind of get to Serie A now, we get some of these kind of really good players. We can kind of keep hold of them. But yeah, before, you know, Zamparini and everything, we were a selling club.
Yeah, because
you would have expected at the time.
Yeah.
What's that?
No. I was just going to say. Obviously, you said about the like selling, like the selling club, and obviously with the City group now. You know, they obviously took the Brazilian player. Well, I can't think of his name. What's the Brazilian player that used to play in La Liga?
Savinho.
Savinho. Like, obviously, he was killing it for Genoa.
And that's what we'll have to see what happens. If Palermo, eventually, if we are in Serie A, if we do have talents like that, whether City they'll just move them to Man City or what happens, I don't entirely know. But yeah, back in the day, Dybala and all of those, yeah, we would often sell them when we got big money for them. It wasn't a surprise, you know, Dybala, you know, he was always going to join Juve when they came in, like many other players before. But yeah, look, when he went, I wasn't surprised. Obviously, I didn't want it to happen, but I wasn't shocked one bit. I knew it was happening. I'd already kind of been, you know, I'd already accepted it quite a long time ago before it did happen, because he had an unbelievable season. I was like, knowing Palermo, there's no way he's going to be here next season because of how good he was. And listen, he's one of the best players, if not the best player ever for Palermo. He was incredible. Obviously, like I said, going to Juve, look, I didn't begrudge him whatsoever. You know, it's Juve. That was golden era Juve as well. That was, you know, they were winning the league every year that year. Essentially, look, I mean, obviously, yeah, like I have some of my family supporting Juve. Yeah, it was obviously good for them, of course. But yeah, for me, look, obviously it was sad when he left, but it was fully expected. It was no surprise to me, if I'm honest.
Yeah, no, I'm with you fully. What are some of your other hobbies? Like, what else are you into that people won't know?
Oh, it's an interesting question. So, obviously, I'm a massive football guy. Like, football's obviously, the one for me. But in terms of other hobbies, look, I mean, I'm not one of those people that has like loads and loads of like other hobbies and stuff. But I guess, you know, other hobbies, I enjoy. I have to think now, you know, because I do watch a lot of football. That's a lot of of a lot of what I like to do. But other hobbies, traveling. That's something I love.
Okay.
You know, whenever I go away, I get so much excitement. You know, whenever I go to a different country, whether it's for a trip or on holiday, whatever it is, like I love it. You know, especially when I get to go to a new country. Whenever I visit a new country, it's incredible for me. You know, just kind of being able to say, like, I've been here now. I've been here. You know, I've been to, you know, I've been to America. I've been to like places like that before. You know, I love going around. You know, I'm just one of those that, like, I wish I could make traveling sort of a hobby, like a regular thing, if that makes sense. Like, I'd absolutely love to do that. So I'd say, in terms of if you can even count it as a hobby, I love whenever I get to travel. I love doing it. I love visiting. I just love visiting new places. I love seeing things that I haven't seen before. I like experiencing things that I haven't experienced before in different countries and everything. So for me, I like to move around. I like to visit other countries, essentially.
Where are some places you've been?
I've been to in Europe. I've been to obviously Sicily. I've been to Spain. Is lovely. I was there. I was in Spain recently for the final, of course. So that was brilliant. Obviously, America's great. America is obviously people have very conflicting thoughts on America, but America is fantastic. You know, I've been to like LA and stuff. It's beautiful. It's a lovely place. I in general, I like being. Whenever I'm in America, I always enjoy it. I really enjoy it whenever I'm there.
Have you been to New York?
I've been to New York. Yeah, New York. Not my cup of tea personally. New York. I mean, I've only been once, so I probably need to go again to kind of see more things. But New York, I'm more of. If you're talking about America, I'm more of a West Coast kind of guy, if that makes sense. I kind of prefer that. But obviously, New York is great. You know, just not 100% my cup of tea, even though I know there's a big Sicilian community there. But for me, you know, as a city, I would prefer somewhere, like LA, kind of San Francisco, on that sort of part, if I'm honest. But New York is great, 100%.
Where else have you been in have you ever been to Vegas?
I have. Yeah, I've been there as well. Yeah. I've been there as well.
What's the strip like?
It's just casinos. I mean, Las Vegas is. I mean, I wasn't there for very long because I was, that was when I went to like Arizona and stuff a long time ago. But from what I remember from Vegas, it's just casinos. That's all I can really say. Obviously, look, it's great. You know, if you want to go there for like a holiday and kind of like gamble and like just have a good time, it's great for that sort of thing. But it's casinos basically.
No, I hear it. Did you go to San Francisco when you were in LA?
I've been to San Francisco. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Have you been to like the pier? Yeah,
I've been to the pier. Yeah, in San Francisco.
What was that like?
It's nice. You know, it's obviously very different to over here and everything. It's lovely. It's a lovely place. LA, San Francisco, San Diego, just California. I love California. I've been to Florida as well. Florida is actually people that haven't been to America kind of feel like it's similar. Florida is actually very different to like California. I know they're both warm places, like they got nice weather and stuff, but Florida is very different. Florida is obviously, it's really warm and everything. I like Florida. I really like Florida as well. That's another place for me that I would strongly recommend going.
No, I'm with you. Have you ever been to like any other places? Ever been to like Chicago?
No, never been to Chicago. I've been to if you're talking about Europe, I've been to Greece. I've been to, where have I been? I've been to Corfu. I've been to the north as well. See, the thing with Greece is it's quite similar to Sicily, but I don't know if it was because of where I went. I'm sure there's many places in Greece that are fantastic, but I just say Greece, the places that I went, not as good as Sicily, even though the weather's very similar and it's obviously because it's near.
Yeah.
Not quite as good for me. But you look at, I've been to Spain, like I mentioned. Bilbao is fantastic. I've been to Germany, of course, but I've been to Germany, but I was very young. I've been to near Frankfurt, but I was very, very young, so I don't really remember it too much.
Yeah. No, I hear you.
But I need to go to more places in Europe, if I'm honest.
Yeah, where else have you been in Europe? Is that it?
Portugal. I was very young when I went there. I've been to where else?
You ever been to
Turkey,
France?
I've been there. Never been to France, funnily enough.
Okay.
I've never been to France, no.
I was about to say Italy, but that's a dumb thing to say. Where else? I can't think. I think Austria is supposed to be.
I do need to. Never been. I need to visit more of these countries in Europe, if I'm honest. Like these.
Have you ever been anywhere in Asia?
Asia's somewhere I haven't been. I'd love to go though. Asia's somewhere I'd love to go. I'd love to go to Japan.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Like, give me like just around the whole world. You don't have to say just Asia, but like, give me like your 5 places you want to go.
What, where I haven't been before?
Yeah.
5 places. Yeah, Japan, 100%. I hear things about Japan all the time that like they're 50 years in the future and stuff. That is, it's really fascinating. I want to go and check out Japan. I hear the food's amazing as well in Japan. Yeah, so I'd love to go there. Australia, I'd love to go to Australia. That's somewhere I'd love to go. Never been. Where else? Yeah, a lot of Asia. Obviously, you got places like Hong Kong as well. You got Korea. That interests me as well. I'm quite interested in like the South as well, like Vietnam, Thailand. I'd love to go to Thailand. That's another place. But yeah, I just need to go and explore. You know, obviously, the more you explore, the more places you'll find out what it's like and everything. I guess if you talk about Asia, I haven't been to East Asia, but I've been to Dubai. That's the only place in Asia technically. That
this guy, man, this guy's bougie, bro. This is bougie. Bro said he's been to Dubai. Damn.
I have, but yeah.
What was that like?
Personally, maybe it's because of where I went. Not my cup of tea, if I'm honest. Okay. There's many. Look, I'm sure there's places I haven't been that are fantastic there and everything, but just from what I expect, I've been twice. Once when I was younger, once last year, actually, quite recently. Yeah, personally for me, not my sort of cup of tea. But look, maybe if I went again, maybe it'd be better.
No, I hear you. What is there like any other sports you like?
Sports. I quite like. Do you know what I do quite like? I quite like. I don't watch it really. I'm not like a follower really, but I quite like pool and snooker, if that counts as a sport. I do quite like that. I'm not a big. I don't watch it a lot, but I sometimes if it's on, if there's nothing else, I'll kind of watch it. Yeah, I quite like snooker and pool. I'm not into rugby. Rugby is too confusing for me. Not cricket either. Yeah, football's obviously the one for me.
Yeah, of course.
I have a lot of friends who play golf, but golf is really boring.
Yeah, I find it boring. Not alone.
Yeah.
Like,
sports is mostly football,
but yeah. Speaking of football, Italy. That's something we didn't. Well, we mentioned the place, but we didn't mention the team. And obviously there's the main game, versus England. And I know because you've spoken to me about it. What was that like for you? Because like for me, obviously, I was obviously supporting England, but like for you, like you're kind of from both in that aspect. So like, what was that like?
Yep. See, here's the thing for me, right? Obviously, yeah, England and Italy, both my national teams. I support both national teams. I've got one of the shirts up there for Italy. Yep. Look, Italy, that Euros, look, I complain so much about the current state of Italy. Missing 2 World Cups and potentially even this one is a disgrace. We're not in the best situation at all. But in terms of, if you're talking about the Euros, that was a great Italy team, Probably a bit of a purple patch because obviously you saw what happened after that. But nevertheless, we were the best team in the tournament. And I think Italy deserved to win that Euros. How did I feel in the final? I'll be honest, I thought England were a bit lucky to get to the final. Just like the recent Euros, I thought England were very lucky to get there. Mm-hmm. For me, honestly, I was relaxed. That sounds strange because usually I'm not relaxed when it comes to watching one of my teams. But I knew that, look, I'm guaranteed to be a winner. I'm guaranteed to be a loser, but I'm guaranteed to be a winner. So I was like, look, I'm relaxed because I was watching it at home. I know I watched your episode with Josh. I know he was, with his Italian family and stuff. So he was kind of didn't have a choice. But I was at home, I wasn't really kind of like, I was obviously I was rooting for I root for both teams, so it was hard. I was like, I hope there's not an England-Italy final because then it will be a bit awkward. But it actually wasn't as bad as I thought. I was just kind of like, look, whoever wins, I'm a winner. So
yeah, no, I do hear that. I do hear
it was a win-win.
So no, I do actually understand, you know, from that aspect. Like, it's not like watching Tottenham versus Bayern, for instance. You obviously don't give a shit about Bayern in that aspect. So you're a Tottenham fan, you know what I mean? So you're gonna be nervous, what's gonna happen, But you know, in that final, you know, you're from both places. You know what I mean? You've got, you know, roots to both places. So no, I do hear that. And what did you think of Chiellini in that game? That's one thing I want to know, because when he dragged Saka back,
the Saka thing.
Yeah. Because like being obviously a Spurs fan as well, did you find it funny because he's an Arsenal player?
Yes, that is correct. I'll be honest, right? I don't know how that wasn't given as a foul, a clear foul, but I think it was given as a foul, but then not a red card. And I can't remember exactly what it was. Yeah. For me, look, it was reckless from Chiellini. I'm not gonna beat around the bush. He shouldn't have done that. You know, he risked getting sent off in that moment. But yeah, of course, I found it funny because it's Saka. He's an Arsenal player. So yeah. So yeah. To answer your question, yeah, it was quite amusing, the Chiellini Saka situation.
I hear it. I know we've touched on it a little bit, but the final thing I want to ask you is, what was that day like when you went and you won the Europa League?
I was waiting for this question.
No, we have to mention this, and I left it to last on purpose. You can obviously see the shirt in the background. You've got the medal.
I got for those that haven't showed it yet, I got a program as well.
You got the program.
I got everything.
And the team you went against as well. You know what I mean? Because like before I shut up and let you speak, like you went against Liverpool in the final. Blah blah blah.
No, Man United in the final.
No, the Champions League final. I mean,
Champions League. Right.
You know what I mean? So like, for instance, it was Liverpool going to win this final. They did go and win it. You know what I mean? But like, it was kind of like the same in that aspect where it was like, Man United are going to win this. It's Spurs. You know the history of Spurs. They don't win nothing. All of this bullshit. So like, to actually, and you went as well. It's not like I'm asking you, what was it like watching it on TV? But you were actually there. Like, what was that like?
I mean, first of all, right, you mentioned the Champions League final. That, in terms of going back to the one of the early conversations in this episode, the Champions League final was the toughest moment as a Spurs fan for me. I'll be honest, look, even to this day, like there's not a day that goes by when I talk about Spurs where, you know, it doesn't cross my mind, if I'm honest, because I thought, for those that don't know, I haven't really said this, but the Champions League final, I thought we were going to do it. Because of how we were getting through. Think about how we got through against City with, like, you know, Llorente's hip and everything. Yeah. How we got through against Ajax, Mora, the hat trick, you know, out of nowhere, you know, we essentially came back from the dead. You know, how we got through the group. People don't talk about the group stage. We were seconds away from going out on the last day. If Lucas Moura doesn't score that last-minute equaliser against Barcelona, we're out. We're out in the group stage. Yeah. People forget about that. So, and yes, obviously Liverpool were a much better team than us that year, but because of how we were getting through, it just felt like, look, this is written. We're going to do it because, you know, the footballing gods, as people say, were on us. Everything was falling for us. Yeah. And I just felt that it's going to happen. Like I wouldn't say I was confident, but I had a good feeling about the Champions League final. Obviously, everybody knows what happens, the complete disgrace of a decision in the first minute and everything. It was a terrible game of football. That's the thing. It was a terrible final. Neither team were good on the day. But if I'm honest, right, I'm not one of these Spurs fans that says, oh, we played well on the final. I don't think we played well. I thought we were just as bad as Liverpool in the final. So because of that, it made it, obviously even tougher, you know, kind of being off the back of that. I just remember, you know, when the Origi goal went in, you know, it's another little story from of what happened for me. Yeah. When the Origi goal went in, I just dropped to the floor. I just dropped. I was like, ugh. And honestly, like that was the hardest like result I've had to swallow being a Spurs fan. Because look, Champions League, you know, that's the biggest trophy in club football. And obviously we'd never been to a Champions League final before. So it was massive and everything. But obviously that happened and everything. So that's why Bilbao, the Europa League final, just felt amazing because, like you mentioned, everyone was saying Man United are going to win. I absolutely hated that going into the final. I was like, I know we're not good, but neither are Man United. And people forgot that we had already beaten Man United 3 times going into the final. Everyone, look, I can fully understand we were not good last season. We had our worst ever Premier League season. But we had Man United's number. Whatever people want to say, we had their number last season.
I agree.
The interesting thing with the Europa League final is, and this was never the case with the Champions League final, is kind of being there on the day. You know, obviously I was in Bilbao. I was in the fan zone. I met up with some guys that I knew, you know, shout out to those guys. Some of them on YouTube with Spurs as well. When I got to the fan park, I felt an energy that I've never felt with Spurs before. Everyone I spoke to, we're going to win. This is our time. We will do it. These were the constant things I was being told before, ahead of the game. Mm-hmm. Everyone at Spurs, the fans were so confident. Even if you saw it, you know, our players, you know, there was a lot of confidence coming from them as well. This is something I've never seen from Spurs before, because going into the Champions League final, it was completely different. Deep down, no fan thought we were going to win. Our players and manager weren't coming out of chest. They were just kind of like, yeah, you know, it's great to be in the... We've never been to a Champions League final before and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
The Europa League final was different. We knew as a fan base, and I know this now, kind of looking back on it. At the time, obviously, I didn't know, but kind of looking back on it now, as a fan base and as a club, we knew we were going to win that final. We knew that it was going to happen finally for us. Obviously, I didn't realize that at the time, and I was absolutely shitting myself. You know, in the build up to the final, but just walking in the stadium, you know, I even like an hour before kickoff, because I had to go in early and stuff. Like even an hour before kickoff, I was absolutely bricking it. You know, just the thought of like, because I genuinely felt the look. If we don't do it now, it's never going to happen. Like that's what the thought process was. Because obviously we were on this long trophy drought. It had never been this long without a trophy for Tottenham. So I was very nervous. Nervous but excited, of course. Nervous but excited. Obviously, kind of getting to the final, you know, Bodo was very comfortable and everything. People thought we'd struggle against Bodo. We didn't. 5-1 on aggregate and everything. The final, I'll be honest, right? And I'm not going to pretend it wasn't, because it was an absolutely horrible game of football. It was... Both teams I didn't think were good. It was a terrible game of football. Yeah. But in a final, that doesn't matter. All that matters in a final is getting over the line. Yep. No matter how you do it, whether it's the way we did it, with probably the scrappiest goal in finals history in football. They gave it to Brennan Johnson, but let's be honest, that was an own goal. That came offshore and it went in. Whether it's on penalties, however you do it, you know, just get it done and bring the trophy home.
Winning's winning, yeah.
Yeah, winning's winning. You got to do what you got to do to win. And nobody's going to... The thing is, no Spurs fan will remember what the game was like. Because why? Because we won the trophy.
Because you won the trophy, yeah.
And that was kind of being in that stadium. When that goal went in, I've never experienced such limbs. I think I fell down about 5 rows. I'm not even joking, because I was right behind it. I had the perfect view of the goal. When you watch back the final, you see like kind of the Spurs fans behind the goal, like all standing up. That's where I was. I was, you know, sort of to the left. When we scored, I've never experienced anything like it. It was incredible. I still have the image playing in my head and everything. Like being there, it's just drinking that in. It was next level, man. Just seeing that goal go in, I was really close to it. Just seeing it, it was very scrappy. It felt like slow motion. It just trickled in, and then the place erupted, man. The place just erupted, and being in the middle of that was surreal. You know, it didn't feel real at the time. And then, obviously, second half, pretty much I could barely watch. Do you know what made it really nervous in that second half? Is, for those who don't know, in the stadium in Bilbao, San Mamés, the screens are really small. So if you're sitting low down, you can't see what time it is during the game. So for that whole game, I had no idea what time it was because the screen was too small. I couldn't see the time in the game. So essentially, imagine this, sitting through that second half where we were essentially, obviously we know how Ange set up in that final. Hoof the ball, kick it out, kick it out, kick it out. Yeah. for how nerve-wracking that was. Obviously, Van der Ven cleared one off the line. It was one of the greatest clearances of all time. Yeah. Imagine sitting through that game, not knowing how long there was to go, because that was me and most of the fans in that stadium, unless they had the timer on their phone, which I couldn't, because I'd have to keep looking down. And then, that's obviously more nerve-wracking for me. I wanted to just look at the game as much as I could. So when that ended, because like I said, when it ended, usually when a game's about to end, you kind of know, you're like, yeah, we've done it. We've got a goal kick or something. Yeah. I know we got a goal kick at the end after United had a corner that went out, but I didn't know that. I didn't know it was about to end, because I just had no idea how long there was. I know they said 7 minutes and everything, but I didn't know how far, because obviously I wasn't counting, because I was like just desperately hoping we wouldn't concede. So I didn't know what time it was. And when it ended, I think the fact that I didn't know just made it that little bit better, to be honest, because game finished, delirium, man. I remember in the group chat and everything, I was like sending you guys all the videos and just photo. Yeah. I remember it. I was going crazy, man. Genuinely, I was going crazy. Man, it was in my time supporting Spurs and following football, that is the best day I've ever experienced. That was, I will never forget it. That's why in the streams, you see the shirt here, you see the medal, that's why you guys see this stuff, because I have to remember this as much as possible. I'm thinking I might even buy a replica trophy. Like, who knows? So this is what I'm saying. I have to, because here's the thing, right? A lot of kind of fans say like, oh, kind of rival fans say, oh, you had an easy run and it's the Europa League, it's not the Champions League, which, by the way, the Europa League is a very prestigious trophy. That was the third time we've won it. And we're not talking about the Conference League here. The way people act when talking about the Europa League, they talk about it like it's the Conference League. Yeah. It's not. It's a very historic trophy. The Europa League is, in my opinion, I think it's a much bigger trophy than, domestic cups, for example. I think it's on a different level to that, personally, because it's a European trophy. And what I constantly hear from rival fans is that, oh, it was an easy run, which, by the way, the same people saying that were the same people that said, oh, Eintracht Frankfurt are going to batter you. That's what I was constantly told, right? And then, obviously what happened. Easy run. Well, obviously, I know you said it. I'm talking about, more rivals. Like they were saying, at the time before we played Frankfurt, they were like, oh, Frankfurt, this is where you're going to lose. Didn't happen. And look, essentially, the reason why people say, oh, we went over the top, kind of, celebrating and everything, which for me is rubbish. Like, first of all, whenever you win a trophy, you're going to celebrate. You're going to go crazy. Whatever trophy it is, because it's a trophy, that's what it's about. You live for these moments. But people have to remember that was the that wasn't just any trophy for us. That was the trophy that ended the drought. Ending the trophy drought is a whole nother thing here we're talking about. This isn't just winning a trophy. This is winning a trophy to end years of just frustration and years of just anger and just pain, essentially. It was the one that ended the drought. And you saw it, you saw the parade. We had a massive parade, for the Europa League. And I think a lot of it was because, look, fans have been waiting for this for so long. And obviously it finally came. And that's what it meant to me, because for me, obviously we talked about me growing up as a Spurs fan. It was really hard in the sense that, look, I was too young to remember when we won the League Cup in 2008. I was too young to remember. Obviously, it was great because we beat Arsenal in the semis and we beat Chelsea in the final. It was great. But I was too young. I was too young to remember it. So for me, as a Spurs fan, I'd been starved. I had not seen us win, and I'd seen in that time, I'd seen us, I'd seen teams like Leicester City and like Wigan, even like Man United win cups when they're shit and everything. I'd seen all of this and it really hurt, man. It really hurt. And I'm just being honest with it. It really hurt. Even like, I know Arsenal haven't been great or anything, but even when they won like the FA Cup that time, that hurt, man, because they weren't even good. We finished above them for like 8 years in a row and they won like a couple of FA Cups. That hurt, man. It really did. So to just end this trophy drought was everything. It meant absolutely everything. And I'm sure every Spurs fan watching will feel the same way because, for years we'd have been mocked. We've been ridiculed and everything, and you just to finally just be able to give it back in a lot of ways was unbelievable. And yeah, you still get people to this day, they're like, oh, it's the shit trophy, it's, you know, you had an easy run. Bollocks, man, just absolute bollocks. You know, that was the moment, and it's something that, yeah, I will never forget. And just being there that was my first final I've ever been to. I know we've made some finals before. I mean, since we last won a trophy, we have made a couple of finals since then. I hadn't been to either of them. I hadn't been to any of the semi-finals, either at Wembley and like the FA Cup or any that we'd made on the Potch and stuff. That was my first ever cup final as a fan. Not even just with Spurs, and that's the first time I'd ever been to any cup final. And for that to be the first time was something else. So
yeah, no, 100%.
Feel about, look, if you went there as a Spurs fan, you know what I'm talking about. But even if you didn't, you know, you can imagine what it meant, essentially, you know, being on that drought. You know, you'd had people growing up like me that couldn't remember the last time we won, you know, was too young. So that's why it meant so much to us.
No, fully, man. I fully get it. I get it. Yeah, like that in itself, you know, and again, to go through the run that you did go through, you know, and I'll say straight up, you know, even to this day, Frankfurt should have beat you. They should have.
That's fair. Look, fair enough. Yeah. But I'm saying a lot of people, what I was saying was the same people that said we had an easy run now are the same people that said that Frankfurt would beat us 5-0. Yeah, basically. Yeah. They're the same. But I know obviously you're not like that. But yeah, there was people that.
No, I get you.
Still doing that now. So.
Nah, man, I get it fully, bro.
But wait, so you reckon I know you were saying at the time, but you reckon Frankfurt should have?
They should have beat you. Yeah,
you think so?
That team they had as well, good team. But
yeah.
Hey, at the end of the day, I can sit here and talk about Bayern. You know, Bayern should have won the 2010 final. You know, we should have beat Chelsea. You know, if Drogba didn't score that header, we would have beat Chelsea. You know what I mean? So, if buts are maybes, mate. It is
of course.
You know what I mean? You got to the final. You won the final. Again, the game was shit, but you won. That's the main thing. You know what I mean? No one cares. No one cares that the game was shit. All they care about is that you won the trophy. You were there. You seen it. You know what I mean?
And this is what it's about, man. Like, this is what I always say, right? Is people, like, for years in the Spurs fan base, there's been this debate, you know, would you rather get top 4 or would you rather win a trophy? There's always been, and I'm like, for me, it's not a question. Everyone, whatever trophy it is, even if it's just like the Carabao Cup, the League Cup, or even like the Europa League, or obviously the UCL, anything, right? You remember the trophy. You don't remember, you know, oh, remember that year when we finished 4th? You don't remember that. You remember when we finished 1st in a cup competition or whatever it is. That's what you remember. And for me, that's what it's about. That's what you live for as a football fan.
No, I'm fully with it, man. Honestly, I'm with you, and I agree. That is what it's about. You know, no one cares. You know what I mean? Like, look at the Real Madrid fans, for instance. You know what I mean? They don't care that they robbed however many things they robbed. What they care about is that they won. You know what I mean? So, to
be fair, you guys were massively robbed with the Ronaldo offside. I think 2017. I think it was.
Yeah,
one of the biggest robberies ever. So I feel for you.
No, fully, bro, fully. Yeah, less said about that, the better. But nah, fully, bro, fully. I'm with you. I've enjoyed this chat, mate. Fully.
100%.
So yeah, people, smash likes, hit the subscribe button. I've got some questions for you, but we'll do that as a separate video. So yeah, big up everyone. Hopefully you have enjoyed. Obviously check out Charlie. All of the links in the description, as always. And yeah, man. Until then, we're out. Peace, people.